The internet is full of people telling you to stop buying synthetic fertilizer. They tell you to use wood ash. They tell you to make compost tea. They tell you to ferment weeds in a bucket. But they almost never tell you the most important part, the exact mathematical measurements. How many cups of ash? How many gallons of water? What is the exact dilution ratio before you pour it on your plants? If you guess these numbers, you are playing Russian roulette with your food supply. If you mix a natural fertilizer too weak, you are just pouring dirty water on your garden and starving your plants. If you mix it too strong, you will trigger a catastrophic chemical reaction in the soil that literally burns your plant's roots alive. Today, we are stopping the guesswork. We are taking the folklore out of survival gardening and replacing it with hard chemistry and exact numbers. I'm going to give you the exact cups, gallons, and dilution ratios for the 4 most powerful zero-cost fertilizers on Earth. Grab a pen and a piece of paper. You are going to want to write this down. Welcome back to the channel. Let's build your chemical cheat sheet. Before I give you the first recipe, you have to understand the mechanical physics of why exact measurements matter. When a beginner hears that wood ash or fermented weeds are good for plants, their instinct is to think, if a little is good, a lot must be better. So they take a massive scoop of concentrated extract and dump it directly onto the base of a tomato plant. Within 24 hours, the edges of the tomato leaves turn brown and crisp. The plant wilts. The stem collapses. The gardener assumes the plant dried out, so they add more water. The plant dies anyway. Here is the exact biological mechanism of what just happened. Roots absorb water through a process called osmosis. Water naturally wants to move from an area of low salt concentration to an area of high salt concentration. Under normal conditions, the inside of a plant root has more dissolved minerals, salts, than the damp soil outside. So the soil water is magnetically pulled into the root. But when you pour a highly concentrated, undiluted fertilizer into the dirt, you massively spike the salt and mineral concentration of the soil. You reverse the physics. The soil becomes more concentrated than the inside of the root. Instead of the plant drinking from the soil literally acts as a vacuum and violently sucks the water out of the plant's roots. The plant dehydrates itself to death from the underground up. This is what we call nutrient burn or osmotic stress. To prevent this, you must dilute your extracts perfectly. You must respect the ratios. Let's start with the most dangerous yet most powerful fruiting fertilizer you can make, the fermented ash extract. A viewer recently asked me for the exact ingredient amounts to make a wood ash tonic. This is a critical question because wood ash is a double-edged sword. Hardwood ash is a biological gold mine. It is loaded with pure potassium, calcium, and magnesium. Potassium is the heavy lifting element that forces a plant to produce massive, heavy tomatoes, thick peppers, and huge fruit. But wood ash is also extremely alkaline. It has a pH level of around 10 to 12. If you apply it incorrectly, it will completely lock up your soil, blinding the roots from absorbing any iron or phosphorus. Here is the exact mathematical protocol to extract the potassium safely. The raw materials. First, you must use pure hardwood ash, oak, hickory, apple, or maple. Never use ash from treated lumber, painted wood, or charcoal briquettes infused with lighter fluid. Those contain heavy metals and toxic chemicals that will poison your food.
The extraction ratio. You need a clean 5-gallon plastic bucket. Measure exactly 2 cups of sifted hardwood ash. Do not pack the cups tight, just scoop it loosely. Pour those 2 cups of ash into the bucket. Next, add exactly 2 gallons of unchlorinated water. If you only have city tap water, let it sit in an open bucket for 24 hours so the chlorine evaporates before you use it. The ratio is absolute, 1 cup of ash to 1 gallon of water. The steep. Stir the mixture violently with a wooden stick for 60 seconds. Cover the bucket with a cloth to keep the bugs out and put it in a shaded, warm place. You must let this sit for exactly 7 days. Stir it once every 24 hours. During this week, the water acts as a solvent, physically dissolving the water-soluble potassium and calcium out of the carbon ash and suspending it in the liquid. The filtration. On day 7, stop. Take a secondary bucket and place a fine mesh cloth or an old cotton t-shirt over the top. Slowly pour your ash water through the cloth. You must trap all the heavy sludge, grit, and charcoal. You only want the dark, amber-colored liquid that passes through. You are now holding pure, highly concentrated potassium extract. Do not pour this extract directly on your plants. It is too concentrated. Its pH is too high. If you pour this straight on a plant, you will trigger the osmotic stress we discussed in Chapter 1, and you will kill your crop. You must execute the final dilution ratio. The mathematical rule for ash extract is 1 to 10, 1 part concentrated extract to 10 parts clean water. The application math. Get your standard garden watering can. Let's assume you have a 2-gallon watering can, which is roughly 32 cups of liquid. To fill that can properly, you measure exactly 3 cups of your ash extract, pour it into the watering can, and fill the rest of the can to the top with fresh, clean water. You have now buffered the high pH, and you have diluted the potassium to a level that the roots can drink without burning. The timing rule. Never apply this to young seedlings. Seedlings need nitrogen to grow leaves. They do not need potassium. You only apply this 1 to 10 ash dilution when your plants enter the fruiting phase. The exact moment you see the first yellow flowers open on your tomato or pepper plants, you water the base of the plant with this diluted mixture. Apply it exactly once every 14 days. The potassium surge will force the plant to set more fruit, and the calcium will build impenetrable cellular walls, completely preventing your tomatoes from rotting on the bottom. You have just replaced a $40 bag of synthetic bloom booster fertilizer with 2 cups of fire pit ash and a bucket of water.
Recipe number 2, the high nitrogen weed tea. The ash extract we just made is for fruit production. But before a plant can produce fruit, it has to build a massive frame of leaves and stems. To do that, the plant requires pure nitrogen. If you go to a garden center, you will see bags of blood meal and synthetic nitrogen pellets that cost $25. You do not need them. The highest concentration of bioavailable nitrogen on your property is currently growing in the cracks of your sidewalk. Weeds like dandelions, comfrey, and stinging nettle have massive taproots that dive deep into the subsoil, pulling up nitrogen, iron, and trace minerals that your shallow-rooted vegetables cannot reach. We are going to harvest those weeds and mechanically extract their blood. The raw materials. Put on a pair of gloves and pull up the deepest, most aggressive weeds in your yard. You want the leaves, the stems, and the dirt-covered roots. Do not wash them. The dirt on the roots contains the exact biological bacteria we need to ferment the tea. The extraction ratio. You need a 5-gallon bucket with a tight-fitting lid. Take exactly 1 pound of chopped weeds. If you do not have a scale, pack the weeds tightly into a standard 1-gallon plastic bucket until it is overflowing, and that will roughly equal 1 pound. Dump the chopped weeds into your 5-gallon bucket. Pour exactly 4 gallons of unchlorinated water over the weeds. The ratio is absolute, 1 pound of weeds to 4 gallons of water. The fermentation. Put the lid on the bucket loosely. Do not snap it completely airtight, or the buildup of fermentation gases will physically blow the lid off. Put the bucket in a warm, shaded spot. You must let this ferment for exactly 14 days. 14 days. Stir it aggressively every 3 days. It is going to smell terrible. It is going to smell like a swamp. That is the exact smell of anaerobic bacteria breaking down the cellular walls of the weeds and releasing pure liquid nitrogen. On day 14, strain the dark green liquid through a cloth into a clean jug.
Throw the dead weed sludge into your compost pile. This liquid is highly volatile. If you pour this raw weed tea onto a young tomato plant, the extreme nitrogen concentration will physically burn the leaves crisp within 48 hours. You must dilute it. The mathematical rule for weed tea is exactly the same as the ash extract, 1 to 10. Take 1 cup of pure weed tea and mix it with 10 cups of clean water. The application timing. You only apply this during the vegetative state, from the moment your seedlings are 4 inches tall until the exact day you see the first flower appear. Once a flower appears, you stop the nitrogen immediately. If you keep giving a plant nitrogen while it is trying to fruit, the plant will abort its flowers and grow massive, useless green leaves with 0 tomatoes. Apply this 1 to 10 dilution exactly once every 10 days directly to the root zone. Watch your plants explode with dark green, aggressive growth. Recipe number 3, the emergency calcium extraction. Every gardener has experienced the heartbreak of blossom end rot. You grow a perfect, massive tomato, but when you turn it over, the bottom is a rotting, black, sunken crater. The internet will tell you to crush up eggshells and throw them in the dirt to fix it. That is a biological misunderstanding. Crushed eggshells take up to 14 months to break down in the soil. Your tomato plant will be dead and frozen before it can absorb a single drop of that calcium. If your plants are rotting, you need water-soluble calcium immediately. We are going to use basic chemistry to strip the calcium carbonate from the eggshells in exactly 7 days. The raw materials. Save your empty eggshells, wash them out with water, and let them dry completely. Next, you must toast them. Put the dry shells in a pan on your stove over medium heat for 5 minutes until they turn slightly brown. This burns off the inner organic membrane and sterilizes the shell, exposing the pure calcium. Crush the toasted shells into a fine powder. The extraction ratio. You need a clean glass mason jar and a bottle of standard apple cider vinegar or brown rice vinegar. The acetic acid in the vinegar is going to chemically dissolve the calcium. Measure exactly half a cup of crushed toasted eggshells and pour them into the glass jar. Measure exactly 5 cups of vinegar and pour it slowly over the shells. The ratio is absolute, 1 part eggshells to 10 parts vinegar by volume. The moment the vinegar hits the shells, the liquid will violently bubble and foam. This is the chemical reaction of the calcium detaching from the carbon. Cover the jar with a breathable cloth and a rubber band. Let it sit in a dark cabinet for exactly 7 days, or until the bubbling completely stops. Strain the liquid. You now possess pure, liquid, water-soluble calcium. The end-all, be-all tablespoon rescue dilution. This calcium extraction is incredibly potent. Do not use cups to measure the dilution. We are dropping down to tablespoons. The mathematical rule for water-soluble calcium is 1 tablespoon per gallon of water. Take exactly 1 tablespoon of your extracted calcium liquid and mix it into 1 gallon of clean water in a pump sprayer. When you see the first sign of blossom end rot, or right after a heavy rainstorm when calcium gets washed out of your soil, you spray this dilution directly onto the leaves of your tomato and pepper plants early in the morning. Plants can absorb calcium directly through the microscopic pores in their leaves, bypassing the roots entirely. The rot will stop within 24 hours. The next tomatoes that grow will be flawless, heavy, and structurally indestructible. We just covered the exact formulas for extreme fruiting, massive leaf growth, and immediate disease rescue. When you memorize these ratios, you stop being a consumer. You stop standing in the fertilizer aisle trying to decipher chemical labels. You become an active biological producer. You no longer guess. You no longer burn your crops. You use the exact mechanical chemistry that nature has provided for thousands of years, and you execute it with total precision. If you wrote these formulas down and you are ready to build a survival garden that actually feeds your family for $0, hit that subscribe button. We don't guess on this channel, we calculate. Keep your systems unbreakable, respect the ratios, and I'll see you in the next one.